direct and indirect effects of grazing by introduced mammals on a native arboreal gecko. On a global scale, ecosystems have been modified by human disturbance and invasive species. The introduction of non-native livestock that is predominantly used for agriculture has resulted in enormous damage to many vulnerable ecosystems and many animal communities. But the presence or absence of livestock and grazing intensity has a particularly major influence on the population density of jeweled geckos from New Zealand. From the Otago Peninsula, the introduction of mammalian predators, including mice and rats, have been a widespread problem for the geckos. Studies have suggested that the presence of livestock may indirectly benefit geckos by controlling the presence of mammalian predators. So how does the presence of livestock and grazing intensity affect the density of jeweled geckos? It is predicted that the activity of mice and rats would be significantly lower and average gecko density higher at grazed sites, regardless of habitat type, and a decrease in geckos and higher rodent activity on ungrazed sites. The experiment took place on 14 Caprosma shrubland sites and 7 Kanuka forest sites, with either site grazed and ungrazed. The sites were chosen based on current conditions. The study undertook 6 searches spaced out over 4 seasons on each site during the day and in optimal conditions where geckos are likely to emerge. Methods to estimate the abundance and density at each site includes visually scanning the vegetation for geckos and photo mark recapture methods to identify previously known individual geckos. For rodent activity, 12 surveys include placing 5 to 10 tracking tunnels at each site to assess the presence and activity of rodents. At each survey, tracking paper is laced with bait and placed in the tunnels overnight. The next day, the papers are collected and the footprints will be identified from it. The results are that the main effect of grazing has led to much higher rodent activity at ungrazed sites compared to grazed sites, regardless of habitat type. For jeweled geckos, the average density is 4 times higher on grazed Caprosma sites, with density decreasing with higher rodent activity on ungrazed sites. In contrast, the density is 2.6 times higher on ungrazed Kanuka sites. It's shown that mice are adept at moving around in the dense Caprosma vegetation, leading to an overlap with gecko habitat and increased predation rates. Rat and mice density increased in ungrazed sites due to higher abundance of invertebrates and mass seeding from cocksfoot grass. There is less rodent activity in grazed sites due to higher visibility by the rodent predators. But what's interesting is, unlike a Caprosma habitat, there is a greater density of geckos in ungrazed Kanuka sites than grazed sites. The study hasn't accounted for why this effect is happening, but a popular theory suggests that dense vegetation provides a thermal refuge for geckos during the cold seasons and lack of arboreal rodent predators. But this is based on observational data. Other factors include available food sources, vegetation cover, or bigger predators. But these are based on predictions, so more studies are needed to confirm them. But what's important are negative effects of livestock on native lizards are often reported in the literature, whereas potential beneficial effects are rarely discussed, possibly due to it being uncommon or representative of bias in research. This study adds to evidence suggesting the removal of livestock for well-intentioned conservation purposes may have indirectly contributed to lizard population declines without measures to control rodent spread. Thank you.